struggling waitress cries alone. Then Johnny Depp walks in and changes everything. It was a cold winter evening in Los Angeles, and the city seemed to buzz with the anticipation of the holiday season. But inside a small, dimly lit diner on the outskirts of Hollywood, the festive cheer felt miles away. Sarah, a young waitress juggling 2 jobs to support her 2 kids, sat alone in the corner booth, her head buried in her hands. The weight of unpaid bills, long hours, and unrelenting loneliness had finally taken its toll. Silent tears streamed down her face as she stared at the empty coffee cup in front of her, wondering how much longer she could hold it all together. The soft jingle of the bell above the door barely registered in her mind. Another customer, she thought, probably here for a quick cup of coffee and a bite to eat. She wiped her tears hastily and prepared to put on the brave smile she wore every day to mask her struggles. But as she looked up, her breath caught in her throat. Standing before her was none other than Johnny Depp. Dressed casually in a worn leather jacket and a scarf, Depp looked every bit the enigmatic Hollywood star. Yet his presence felt anything but intimidating. His kind eyes immediately noticed the red puffiness around Sarah's own. Without hesitation, he walked over to her booth and asked, "Mind if I sit?" For a moment, Sarah couldn't speak. This was a man she had only ever seen on the big screen, and now he was here, sitting across from her in this tiny, unremarkable diner. She nodded silently, too stunned to form words. "Long day?" he asked, his voice soft but filled with genuine concern. The dam broke. Sarah poured out her heart. The late rent, the overdue utility bills, her children's unfulfilled Christmas wishes, and the crushing exhaustion of working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. She didn't know why she was opening up to this stranger, but something about his demeanor made her feel safe. Depp listened intently, never interrupting, his face a mixture of empathy and understanding. When she finished, she felt a small weight lift from her chest, though she still didn't expect anything more than a kind word in return. But Johnny Depp had other plans. After a moment of silence, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook. He scribbled something on a page, tore it out, and handed it to Sarah. It was a check, a sum so generous it brought her to tears again, though this time they were tears of disbelief and gratitude. "This is for you and your kids," he said, his voice steady. "Take care of yourself and don't give up. The world needs people like you." Sarah's hands trembled as she held the check. "Why are you doing this?" she managed to ask, her voice breaking. Depp smiled gently. "Because I've been there, and sometimes all we need is someone to remind us that we're not alone." He didn't stay long. After finishing his coffee and leaving a generous tip on the table, he stood to leave. Before walking out the door, he turned back and said, "Merry Christmas, Sarah." That night, Sarah's life changed. The financial burden that had weighed her down for so long was suddenly lifted. She used the money to catch up on her bills, buy gifts for her children, and even enroll in night classes to pursue her dream of becoming a teacher. She also bought warm coats and essentials for her kids, who had gone without for far too long, and surprised them with their first Christmas tree in years. In the days that followed, word of Johnny Depp's visit spread quietly among the diner's staff. The cook, an elderly man who had watched Sarah struggle for years, marveled at how her spirits lifted overnight. "It's like she's glowing," he told one of the regulars. Sarah, for her part, remained humble, only sharing the story with a few close friends, always emphasizing Depp's kindness rather than his fame. Months later, as Sarah attended her first night class, she often thought about that evening. Depp's words echoed in her mind every time she doubted herself. "The world needs people like you." It became her mantra, a reminder that even in her darkest moments, someone had seen her worth and believed in her. Sarah never saw Johnny Depp again, but his kindness remained with her forever. Whenever she spoke of him, she described not the movie star, but the man with kind eyes who walked into her life when she needed hope the most. Years later, when Sarah had completed her degree and began teaching at a local elementary school, she often shared her story with her students. Not to boast, but to inspire. "Kindness," she would say, "has the power to change everything, and sometimes the kindest acts come from the most unexpected places." A decade passed, and Sarah's life had completely transformed. She had moved her family to a modest but cozy home, where her children thrived in school and extracurricular activities. One Christmas Eve, she found herself reflecting on that fateful evening in the diner. Her thoughts turned to Johnny Depp, wondering if he even remembered the small act of kindness that had meant the world to her. It was then that she decided to write him a letter. Not knowing where to send it, she addressed it to his fan mail agency and poured her heart into the words. She thanked him for his generosity, detailed the impact it had on her life, and shared how his encouragement had inspired her to give back to her community. Months later, Sarah received an unexpected package. Inside was a handwritten note from Johnny Depp himself, along with a signed photograph and a message that read, "Sarah, your strength and resilience are a reminder of why kindness matters. Thank you for sharing your journey with me. Keep inspiring others. Johnny." The note reignited Sarah's passion for helping others. She started a local charity aimed at supporting single parents struggling to make ends meet. The organization provided resources like childcare, career counseling, and financial aid. Sarah often told her story during fundraisers, emphasizing how one moment of compassion had created a ripple effect that changed countless lives. One evening, as she spoke to a packed hall during a charity gala, she glanced at the audience and saw a familiar face. Johnny Depp was there, quietly sitting in the back, his signature smile beaming with pride. After her speech, he approached her, and they shared a heartfelt embrace. "You've done more than I ever could," he said. "I'm proud of you." That night, Sarah realized that her story wasn't just about Johnny Depp's kindness. It was about how that kindness had inspired her to become a beacon of hope for others. She had turned her pain into purpose, and in doing so, she proved that even in the darkest moments, a single act of generosity could light the way forward. In the shadows of Hollywood's bright lights, it's easy to forget that true stars shine through their actions, not their fame. And for Sarah, Johnny Depp was the brightest star of all. His kindness had not only changed her life, but it also sparked a chain reaction of compassion that would continue to grow for years to come. Sarah's charity, now thriving, had touched the lives of countless families. She often organized community events, from holiday meals to school supply drives, ensuring that no family in her town would feel the isolation and despair she once knew. She also became a mentor to struggling single parents, sharing her story to remind them that hope could be found even in the most unlikely places. Johnny Depp, while continuing his acting career, remained quietly supportive of Sarah's efforts. Though he avoided the spotlight when it came to his philanthropic endeavors, he occasionally sent anonymous donations to her charity, ensuring its growth and impact. One day, a journalist covering Sarah's charity asked her what kept her motivated. She smiled and replied, "A stranger once walked into my life and showed me that kindness can change everything. Now I try to pass that kindness on to others, hoping they'll do the same." Her words became a local motto, spreading throughout the community. Acts of generosity multiplied as people paid it forward, inspired by Sarah's journey and the kindness of one Hollywood star. From small gestures like paying for a stranger's coffee to larger efforts like organizing community fundraisers, Sarah's town became a beacon of compassion. In time, Sarah's story reached national headlines. She was invited to speak on talk shows and at conferences, sharing how a single moment of kindness had transformed her life. Through it all, she remained humble, always redirecting the spotlight to the importance of helping others. Johnny Depp watched her rise from afar, his heart filled with pride. He had never sought recognition for his actions, but seeing the ripple effect of his kindness reminded him why he had chosen to step into that diner on a cold winter night. Years later, at another charity gala, Sarah took the stage to accept an award for her contributions to the community. As she looked out at the audience, she spotted Johnny Depp once again, sitting quietly in the back. Their eyes met, and she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She dedicated her award to him, calling him the spark that lit the flame of hope. Johnny Depp, ever humble, slipped out before the event ended, leaving behind only a handwritten note for Sarah. "Keep shining, Sarah.